platform at communicationplatform.org. That is communicationplatform.org. So here we go. Another one for you for natural cures, remedies, and natural treatments for different diseases and problems. But as always, first, our disclaimer that we have spewed all over our website, our YouTube channel. Nothing here is intended to be medical advice in any way, shape, or form. This is entirely informational only. So information purposes only. You must always qualify or speak to your own qualified local healthcare provider in your own area and follow your own healthcare laws of your local and state government, wherever you are. So just information. All right. Now that we got the disclaimer out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into it. Okay. So there are some things that generally are good to have in the house, and this is mostly doable in most parts of the world we've worked in. And a lot of our experience does garner from different parts of, rural Asia, the Middle East, Africa, Latin America. But I would say the one on here, so honey, red pepper, garlic, cinnamon, nothing magical there. I would say the one thing that people I wish could have more of, but a lot of places it's not actually easily available, is apple cider vinegar. Not white vinegar, apple cider vinegar. White vinegar is entirely different. So other than that, you should have a tablespoon and a teaspoon. Measuring is always better. Yes, we've worked in, me and other, licensed medical providers. We have worked in different parts of, in the bush and, from East Africa to, the favelas in Latin America and places without clinic or hospital. And we use pinches with your fingers when we don't have, teaspoons, to do like half a teaspoon, quarter teaspoon. We go by numbers of pinches. So you can rough it if you have to, but it's always better with a tablespoon or a teaspoon and measuring spoons. Okay. First up, we're just going to blow right through this. So arthritis, right. It's probably our most common thing for middle to older age adults that are very much still on their feet in developing countries. I would say this is true for even, in fully industrialized first world nations. It doesn't matter. Everybody gets arthritis, it seems. So one thing you can do, it seems to help with the joints, is a tablespoon of honey with a teaspoon of cinnamon powder and warm water every morning. The thing I love about a lot of these natural remedies is they help some percentage of people, not everybody, but maybe 1 out of 3. Even 1 out of 3 is amazing. Maybe half, maybe if we're really lucky, 2 out of 3. But they're like so safe, And again, nothing here is medical advice, and everything here is do at your own risk. But I mean, use your common sense when we go through some of this stuff. So honey and cinnamon powder. All right, next. Hepatitis, for contagious hepatitis. This one is one of my favorite out of traditional Asian medicines practices. We are looking at 3 celery stalks. 3 celery stalks, squeeze out the juice and steam with 2 tablespoons of honey daily. That is a great, great natural remedy. Local food. Celery is everywhere. So again, you're not eating the celery. You're squeezing out the juice, grinding and grating and squeezing out the juice. There's a lot of water content in foods like celery and cucumber. You're going to squeeze it out. You're going to go ahead and you're going to steam that with 2 tablespoons of honey daily. Just turn on, the oven or, get it over a fire, steam it, add your tablespoons of honey and drink. And by the way, I should say for this, these are not meant to be standalone treatments. This is if somebody has active contagious hepatitis, right? They need to still see a medical provider. There's lots of antiviral meds you can take now, but this is something they could do in addition to that. Okay. After clearing it with their medical provider, of course. Okay. Flu. Yeah, influenza. This one is really near and dear to me because, especially for toddlers, so big complaint we get from a lot of the clinics and local healthcare providers and public health folks in poor developing regions is the flu. The flu COVID grabbed a lot of the the media spotlight, but for little children, It's not COVID that makes us nervous. It's really the flu. It's really influenza is so dangerous to the very, very young, especially to infants and even to some toddlers. And so, um, and a lot of it is just from the dehydration, right? And so this is something, special recipe you can use for flu. Um, Again, the word cure used loosely there, not to be taken in a medical sense, um, but as a folk treatment. And that would be 2 servings of beans and rice. Everybody's got beans and rice. Can add 4 cloves of garlic, 2 pieces ginger. I say about the size of your thumb. 2 radishes, 1 raw onion, some vinegar. That would be white vinegar in this case. Add some oregano and chives. If you like spicy food, you can add red hot chili peppers. And that is a great antiviral dish. Multivitamin gets all your B vitamins in there with orange juice, get your vitamin C, or just eat an orange, right? Citrus. And the third, probably my favorite for influenza, especially for children, you can take soybeans, boil soybeans in water, add a handful, and I do mean like a full handful of parsley, um, parsley leaves, I mean, and raw onion, right? Add another handful of raw onions chopped up and have that and eat that as soup, or have your children eat that as soup. Sorry, we have some animals in the background, so apologies for the noise if you're hearing our animals chirp back there. Okay. All right, anemia. Um, yeah, again, this is one that really needs, medical screening, medical treatment, because there's so many causes of anemia. So, but as a generality, something you can do for what I would say as people who are told to be iron deficient anemia, which is one of the most common worldwide types of anemia. Have a serving of soybean or brown beans every night, leafy green vegetables. Dessert foods would be strawberries and cherries. Those are smart foods for anemia, for iron deficient anemia. Want to be careful of tomatoes, spinach, coffee, soda, and chocolate. Okay, so you would want to avoid those for iron deficient folks. And then you can also take iron supplements with vitamin C on an empty stomach. Okay. Eczema. All right, everybody's favorite in dry season. So as a supplement, you could do, well, first of all, you could just do topical primrose oil if you can find it, with a base. You can mix it with some coconut oil. But if you're able to find the actual supplement, you can internally take, for an adult dose. Everything here, by the way, is assumed to be adult doses if we're talking dosages, unless we state otherwise. You could take 3,000 milligrams or 3 grams of evening primrose oil, your multivitamin, and burdock root is a great one I use for chronic long-term eczema patients. That's a good one. Asthma. This is probably the most important slide in the whole piece. So we can take 5,000 milligrams, which is 5 grams, same thing, 5 grams of fish oil twice a day. It's a higher dose than normal that most clinicians or physicians are comfortable giving out. The truth is, for fish oil, it's actually quite hard to truly kind of overdose on it. Your body expels that which you don't really use and absorb. I would say, let's see if I caution this here. It actually doesn't mention it, but I will mention it myself. You need to be careful of fish oil in people on blood thinners. So if it's a person that you're sharing this with and they're on a blood thinner, they would need to be careful of fish oil for sure. And probably take a much lower dose, maybe just like 1,000 milligrams morning and night. Okay. Magnesium, the capsule form would be 250 3 times a day, 250 milligrams, or magnesium pretty easily gathered by having a variety of foods. You can do papaya, oranges, steamed broccoli. They're not on here, but for magnesium, I believe dark chocolate. It's another great one for magnesium. If you're in a part of the world that has access to not chocolate, but dark chocolate. Let's see. soybeans, right, with chopped tomato. Those are all some good old remedies there. And you can see what we have for the apple cider vinegar that comes back in. Adding that apple cider vinegar is incredibly important for asthmatics. Unfortunately, it's just where a lot of the parts that we work in through Asia, Africa, and Latin America, apple cider vinegar is not easily found in a lot of areas, unfortunately. But you can at least do the food cures, right? The food parts. And so for severe asthmatics, we do supplements if they have access to it. That's 1,000 milligrams 3 times daily. Also, cordyceps. Cordyceps is a great mushroom supplement. We do it 800 milligrams twice a day. And of course, if you don't know, now you know, always avoid dairy and high sugar foods in asthmatics. Now, that I have to walk that back a little bit. That's probably more of a industrialized nation statement that if I was in, a poor developing area and a child had asthma, but they also need their local dairy for their calcium, their vitamin D and bones, that, they're going to need to get that from their calcium. If there's no other calcium, way to do it, they're going to need to have dairy. But I would say even then, if they're in an asthma exacerbation, an asthma flare up, yes, avoid dairy at least during those times. And avoiding high sugary food is always smart with asthma. Okay. Probably my favorite on here. So an old Chinese remedy: stop smoking, cut up a radish, mix it with 2 teaspoons of honey. Honestly, the ratio of radish to honey, I think like people go back and forth from different, old texts about this. The short answer is just do a half and half mix. Get like a jar, put half honey, half radish, just half honey, half radish, chop it up into little tiny pieces, the radish, and then mix the honey and the radish and swallow a spoonful every morning and night to eliminate cravings. I would remind people, don't have somebody stop smoking and go cold turkey, because that's too much too fast. You would need to actually have them cut their cigarettes in half the first week. So if a guy smokes 20 cigarettes a day, then the first week you should only have him smoke 10 while he's taking a spoonful every couple hours to help with cravings. And then maybe the next week he would go from 10 cigarettes a day to 5. And then by week 3, he can go to nothing. Okay. Tuberculosis, probably one of the most important. And so obviously, again, all of these things, none of this, is meant to be, curative. A couple sides may say, folk cure, or treatment, but these are all just different regimens you can try out for different problems. But this needs of, above all, this one you should never, ever, ever try to have treated on your own, because tuberculosis is like, obviously a leading killer in a lot of the countries we work in. But we have, on some occasions, these are probably only true for the non-resistant strains, not non-multi-drug resistant strains, because there are different multi-drug resistant strains of TB across, especially parts of some parts of Asia, that you need to use garlic cloves. And the garlic cloves, we go anywhere up for like 30 to 40, a insanely high amount. And we do that in glass of milk, and we boil it. We boil it as like a syrup, and then we just administer it a couple times a day. We also talk about pineapples or pineapple juice. They have some chemicals in them that seem to help with inflammation from tuberculosis. And so that's another practice. But for sure, the garlic cloves in the glass of milk, that is, and boiling it to a syrup and taking this as food a couple times a day. I would take that amount and I would just split it morning and night. Again, just like fish oil, it's not on here, but garlic you need to be careful of if somebody's on a blood thinner, because that can really, really, really change the levels of different blood thinner medicines in the blood, in the body. So just a word of caution about that. But again, I mean, we've worked in some mountainous regions where people get tuberculosis and die. And if the choice is die and or get no help for the next month and they're really sick, then yeah, we get out the garlic cloves and we do what we have to do. All right, stop drinking alcohol. This is an important one because alcoholism has spread to pretty much every corner of the world. Black soybeans, really all you need for this one. It's a food source, and then you're just gonna put it with 1 cup of sugar, and I'm sorry, you can have the black soybeans every night, and then we would go ahead and say as a drink, you can have 1 cup sugar, 2 tablespoons rice vinegar. That's not white vinegar, that's rice vinegar. Note, a little bit hot water, and you can have that as a drink every morning. And then the third that I see as supplemental and helpful would be ginseng, specifically American or Western ginseng tea 3 times a day. Ginseng seems to be a good combination treatment to other things that people are doing for alcohol addiction. All right, acne. All right, keeping the skin nice and clear. So couple tablespoons of apple cider vinegar dissolved in a glass of water every morning and night. You can also, again, go high on the fish oil for adult dose of 5 grams morning and night. Again, be careful of blood thinners. If you're on blood thinners, you can also do 30 milligrams of zinc twice a day. It's a reasonable dose. Tea tree oil, if you have it, for a direct application to pimples. All right, menstrual pain. I'm sorry, that was it's a typo there. We'll get that out. The famous cure for alcoholics. Yeah, 2 separate problems. Excuse that. For menstrual pain, we are looking at boiling a handful of fresh parsley into water, and we bring it to a boil, and then add an egg, and you can go ahead and just eat that. And probably the fresh parsley boiled with an egg added is probably like my best favorite folk remedy and treatment that seems to help a lot of women with menstrual pain, that they tell me it was their cure, so I'm good. I'm glad. Black cohosh, ginger tea, those are both 2 easy, safe ones for women. Dried ginger, again, you can boil dried ginger, can add brown sugar in water a couple minutes and then eat. And then you can also take 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, mix it into milk or soy milk. I would say one thing with the cinnamon, um, so 2 teaspoons cinnamon, but it really would be better to boil the milk and have it as like a boiled kind of tea that you're drinking. That for the cinnamon, so that I would just add that detail. But everything else on there is spot on. Your common cold, right? As they say in our Spanish partner countries, gripe. And so what we're going to do here for colds is look at just having some warm water, mixing it in local honey, tablespoon of local honey, half a teaspoon of cinnamon powder. You can drink that, drink in warm water twice a day. For dinner, you can also make 2 servings of beans and rice and add, you guessed it, the same antiviral foods that we had on another slide. What are antiviral foods? Ginger, garlic, onion, radish. You can add, again, white vinegar, oregano, chives, and of course red hot chili peppers. If you can, do the heat, and you can have that every day. Depression, again, another one. Disclaimer. Don't try to treat someone else's depression or your own. Anything that's here as a treatment is informational only, because depression can lead to suicide and other bad things. So got to go ahead and be very careful with that. But things that we've seen in a lot of the countries we work in, people doing in the community, ginkgo biloba, 120 milligrams twice a day. That's correct. Fish oil, flaxseed, 8,000 milligrams 3 times a day. That's a very high dose. That I would say is a short-term dose, by the way. We don't have that noted on there, but I would treat that as a short-term dose, as in like not more than a couple months, not a lifelong dose. It's a little on the high end, but that's fine. multivitamin to get all your B vitamins in there. St. John's wort, 300 milligrams 3 times a day. It's a very common one. Ice showers, cold showers. I don't have enough time to get into all that, but yes, the short answer on that is yes. 5-HTP, starting low, 50 milligrams 3 times a day on an empty stomach. Very important if you take 5-HTP. That's a supplement that you take it on an empty stomach. And in general, you can mix it up to, you can take it up to 100 milligrams 3 times a day and increase it. You need to be careful of especially drug-to-drug interactions if the person's already on other drugs. You can also take, I can never pronounce this, acetyl silmethionine, 400 milligrams 3 times a day. And that last one you would not use if you were diagnosed with bipolar. Stomach aches. Of course, this has to be diagnosed, right? Because stomach ache could be an early appendicitis and a child could die. But in general, it's just a stomach ache and a child doesn't look bad and they're not getting worse. Warm water, mix it with a tablespoon of honey, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, drink it twice a day. You can also do 10 grams of dry ginger, 10 grams of licorice for adults, 10 grams licorice a day. Licorice is great for abdominal upset. I would just mention that if people are doing licorice tea or ginger tea, or I'm sorry, not ginger tea, but licorice tea or licorice, the herbal supplement, you need to be very careful if there are blood pressure problems. There are definitely some drug interactions with licorice. So here we go. Erectile dysfunction. Very simple one. Mussels, if you have access to them in your part of the world. Mussels mixed with rice wine, 4 to 5 servings of raspberries a day. Easy, easy. Doesn't help everybody, but helps some folks. Excuse me. I have to take a sip of my own tea here. All right. Stomach bug flu. This is what I would call more a GI virus. Nausea, vomit, diarrhea. Again, this needs to be diagnosed to make sure it's not something more serious. But for symptomatic treatment, teaspoon of ground ginger, cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves in warm water 3 times a day. Oh, excuse me. I have to go get my own natural remedy after this. Okay, cough. This is very simple. Black pepper, regular black pepper, ground up. Sprinkle it over honey and do it every hour for the day. And that usually will take care of the beginning of most coughs. I probably will do that after this lecture. Hair loss, again, symptomatic treatment. A lot of, speaking from, with my own medical background, there's a lot of reasons for hair loss. So got to get it looked at. But for the meantime, you can make a paste with using honey, olive oil, cinnamon powder, as noted on there. You can put that as a paste on 20 to 30 minutes a day. UTIs probably are most important for most young women that suffer UTIs. This is their favorite slide when we go somewhere. You can sometimes catch it early if you dissolve a teaspoon of sea salt in a glass of water. That's 1 teaspoon sea salt in a glass of water. And you can do that the first couple days if you catch it early on. Can also do cranberry juice. We all know that cranberry juice is more preventative than curative. You can also do oranges for citrus. Olive leaf extract, yes, very effective. Uva ursi or golden seal root. Again, the problem with I love golden seal and uva very much for folks we work with. But I can just tell you they're just hard to find in a lot of areas. So, but if you can find them, that's great. Stomach ulcers definitely needs to be seen by a licensed medical provider, just like any of these things. But the reason stomach ulcers are so dicey and scary is you can lead to what's called a massive GI bleed, where you can hemorrhage from inside the stomach. I've seen it in the emergency department. It is scary. I've seen my own patients almost die of it. So you need to really, really be careful of stomach ulcers. But Couple simple things you can do to start. Try to cut out caffeine and alcohol if you can, because those are two biggies that are problematic. Have one head of cabbage a day, and have cayenne pepper and warm water 3 times a day. Also very helpful. You can also take apple cider vinegar mixed with some baking soda as a preventative for the GI tract. So that's the ratio there. A cup of water with 2 tablespoons apple cider vinegar and quarter teaspoon baking soda. And I would do that, maybe a couple times a day, or max 3 times a day. Diarrhea, again, what could it be? Why is it diarrhea? Got to get it checked out. But the traditional teaching, banana, rice, apples, toast, binding foods, the juice of radishes, that's probably my favorite for diarrhea. Taking a whole bunch of radishes, grinding and grating the juice out, drinking the juice, radish juice, the juice of radish. You can also just eat raw ginger or cut it up and put it in your food. And then, or ginger tea. Oregano are very good, a good little diarrhea snack. Oregano herbs seasoned on soybeans. Burns. So fresh ginger. Thankfully, a lot of parts of the world we work in, they do have aloe vera, so apply a fresh aloe vera juice is excellent. It works as well as most of the pharmaceutical burn medicines we give out. In my experience, and fresh ginger, squeezing out the juice, soaking it on the wound, that is great too. So 2 very safe, simple, easy, effective treatments. Insomnia. Well, again, a lot of causes for insomnia, people with trouble sleeping, but an easy one you can try, regardless of the cause, crush up an onion or cut it up and just inhale it for 10 to 15 minutes before bed. At least 5. It's hard because people's eyes water and their nose runs, but 5 minutes even will help create a very good, strong sleep. If you don't believe me, just try it. I've given that one out so many times to so many different people in different parts of the world, and just come back, doing, cartwheels. So constipation. I will go through this, but I will mention 2 favorites for constipation would be avocado and black bean. I understand they're not on here, but if I had to choose 2 actually from my own experience, I would add to this. We have a background heater going on, so bear with us as we finish up. Avocado and black beans. I would also say sweet potato boiled. You can mix it with honey and eat that. You can also do aloe vera juice, prunes, figs, psyllium husk if you have it as a local supplement. But really, if you do 1 avocado and a bowl of black beans and plenty of water through the day, those 3 things should take care of most children and adult constipation. Fungal infections. Just apply white vinegar to the area 3 times a day for 10 minutes. Indigestion. Same thing as before for other GI stuff, honey and cinnamon powders. You can take that before each meal. So it's for people who don't have access to antacid pills in different parts of the world. Infertility. I think this might be the last one, but infertility, this is important to a lot of our people that just don't have access to fertility services. And that is we have a couple that are for men only, women only, but for both, you can always go ahead and for an alkaline treatment, lemon or lime juice, and then add a pinch of baking soda, and then go ahead and you can drink that in water you can mix that with water and drink that. Multivitamins are great. Some helpful foods, asparagus, garlic, and walnuts. And then women, we list a couple herbs there they can take, and men, a couple herbs there they can take. Headaches, acupressure. You can go ahead and try different acupressure points and basically doing like a thumb massage over the area, for the back of the head in the center where you feel that that crease, right above the neck. That spot right there is very, very useful. Magnesium itself, if you can take magnesium supplements, magnesium is a great, great supplement to give out for headaches. Of course, for headaches that are continuing or are severe, that these are things that obviously need to be seen by a licensed medical provider, because it could be a sign of something more serious. But for typical migraines that are not something more serious underlying, feverfew 500 milligram, I'm sorry, feverfew 500 micrograms once a day. That would be one treatment there. Um, 5-hydroxytryptophan, that's another one. Fish oil, again, a high dose fish oil. That should be it. Apologies for the recording near our burner in our building today, and it just happened to click on near the end of our stream here. So sorry about that. Otherwise, you can always send us an email. Again, nothing here is meant to actually be taken as a cure or medical treatment. This is all strictly just information only. But if you have any questions, go ahead and give us an email at opensources123@gmail.com, and we will see you soon.